Ladies and gentlemen, dear audience, let me start by congratulating the chairs of CyFy by convening such a powerful community of people, institutions, and companies at a crucial point of time in history. Future generations will look at us and judge us by how we manage to navigate in these turbulent times. The worst reproach I could imagine is, why didn't you act in a resolute manner when all the tools and knowledge were widely available? India is a great nation, and the world looks to it to be a leading force for the good when it comes to make use of new technologies and the promise of the ever more digital world. Switzerland is a small country in terms of population, but a world leader in innovation and research. Like India, we have a long tradition of building bridges between antagonizing world powers. Next year, we will celebrate 75 years of friendship between our two nations. Let's use this capital of mutual understanding and dialogue to overcome the great risks of our time. I feel very privileged and humbled to speak among so many distinguished colleagues reflecting on technologies that define our societies. What occupies us today is a matter particularly dear to Switzerland. It has to do with discovering the special point between fostering innovation and ensuring that technological developments will benefit us all. It all comes down to digital self-determination, which is a cornerstone of the Swiss digital foreign policy strategy. Though modesty is one of our national virtues, I have to say that we found this balance, and I'm proud of my country being a world champion in innovation and prosperity for our people. We have to come to a point in computing power and engineering that we have to redefine our relationship between machines and think of new forms of governance. Where do we draw the line between machines and humans? What tools do we have at our disposition to seek answers? With those questions, I hope to place some markers for further reflections. We might think of those as beacons situated at the intersection of policymaking, innovation, and trust. Let me start with the need for new bridge builders, technical and diplomatic engineers who can bring together the building blocks for a safe, open, and free digital world. This is also at the heart of the Swiss digital foreign policy. Switzerland and International Geneva, the UN organizations, have already strong assets in this field. The Geneva Internet platform that published the Geneva Digital Atlas shows that literally every sector of digital governance has one or another link with international organizations based in Geneva. And more importantly, it is also the place where technology meets humanity and human rights are upheld in stormy waters. With the Geneva Science and Diplomacy Anticipator, GESDA, these efforts are brought to a new level of ambition. The foundation brings together diplomats, scientists, and civil society to anticipate technological developments. GESDA conducted its second Geneva Science and Diplomacy Anticipation Summit a few weeks ago. And the GESDA Science Breakthrough Radar identified key trends in the labs, for instance, in advanced artificial intelligence. What struck my mind is specifically advancements in machine learning and quantum computing. As the availability of large data sets and computing power increases, so will the potential applications of AI. They will approach human capabilities in many tasks. By being aware of those trends, we can anticipate and be better at shaping future norms. We should always value science, rationality, and multiple point of views, but at the end, we need to find common ground. This is what has been at the center of the Swiss approach to international governance. Now, how can we shape regulation and governance that does not hamper innovation? From many sides, we hear voices calling for a better regulation. It remains unclear, however, how those should look like. The risk, most importantly, is that to hamper innovation, we should work to find the more prolific equilibrium between existing ethical frameworks and such as human rights and innovation. Let me give you an example. When the Swiss Federal Technical Institute, EPFL, in Lausanne, the researchers wanted to test drones on their campus, they had no idea whether or not this was allowed within the existing regulatory framework. It posed questions in terms of security and data protection. When they visited the regulatory body in Bern, they still had no specific guidelines for drones. And despite uncertainty, the regulators let the researchers test their drones while acknowledging that as they develop, regulation had to proactively adapt it. And I'm convinced that we should work towards finding the same kind of equilibrium for AI. Lastly, on trust. The digital age and its related technologies is often compared with deeply disruptive effects of, for instance, the railway infrastructure on economies, societies, and states. In the early days, collapsing bridges, train wrecks were frequent. The security of users was not ensured, and the railways would have never gained broad acceptance if bridges would have continued to collapse regularly. So we started to make security norms, and bridges became safer, and today, taking the train is one of the safest ways to get from one to B. Indeed, when the international system and national political orders are under severe stress, as well as game-changing new technologies appear at the same time, the most important task is to regain trust and security. We have to kick-start a virtuous circle of digital trust, strengthening higher cybersecurity level, promoting again trust in the digital world. For instance, the Digital Trust label developed by the Swiss Digital Initiative aims to advance practice-oriented ethics in the digital age. Companies such as Swiss Re labeled their services, which ensures security, data protection, reliability, and fair user interaction. In the criteria, avoiding algorithmic bias is also high on the list. And big tech companies like Cisco are also in the process of adopting this Swiss label for digital trust. This label can be a strong driving force. New technologies ask for new actors to be part of new solutions. And I'm very proud that representatives from the Swiss private sector and science have actively contributed to the creation of that label. Just as we find standards and quality labels for our railway systems, we can also build trust between us and the digital services we rely so much upon. Let me conclude. Without a strong underlying set of values and institutions that guarantee freedom, human rights, and humanitarian principles and protect the environment of our planet, no AI system alone will do. But digital tools can be an incredible force for good if inspired and applied with ethical standards and values. One of the participants of the first Swiss Digital Summit, Brad Smith, president of Microsoft, said, "When we reflect on questions, what are the values we want innovation to serve, I personally think that one of the best places to search for answers is in Switzerland and in Geneva. It's what I call the spirit of Geneva. Effective governance, innovation, and trust don't appear out of the blue. It builds up slowly but steadily. But we have to take into account multiple viewpoints. Based on strong values and smart norm shaping, a global digital governance can evolve and sustain trust for the future." Let me finish by a recent documentary I saw about the first docking of a US and a Soviet spaceship back in 1975. It was so impressive to see how highly complex systems involving people with different languages and opposed values were able to accomplish such a maneuver. Well, how was that possible? Well, I think they both had the science and the engineers, and I think most important above all, a minimum level of trust and the will to work together despite differences. As ethical principles and framework for AI are booming, I'm already keen on hearing more from the panelists following this, and their various backgrounds will hopefully give us inspiration for how we should move forward. Thank you very much for your attention.